It has a roof over it. It actually is.
Ready?
nice.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
Ready?
School board 7-Eleven.
Who?
It is.
They're training. Yeah.
To the 7-Eleven committee tomorrow night. Classroom.
It's only slightly smaller than
Trying to
my
decide, should we
Okay. I'm going to call to order this regular meeting of the Ojai Planning Commission. Members of the public wishing to address the Planning Commission on items appearing on the agenda are requested to complete a speaker card and file it with the secretary prior to the start of the meetings. Cards are available in the lobby. Speakers should state their name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Comments must be directed to the commission, not the audience. While Planning Commission is in session, all in attendance are expected to maintain order and decorum and to obey the orders of the chair. Amber, roll call, please.
Commissioner Foster,
Here.
Commissioner Lajowski,
Here.
Commissioner Merck, Commissioner Nolan,
Here.
Vice Chair Jagiello, and Chair Zabilla.
Here. Commissioner Foster, can you lead us in the pledge, please? Okay, this is time for public communications. This is the time set aside during the Planning Commission meeting for members of the public to address the Planning Commission on items of city business other than scheduled agenda items. Matters raised at this time may be briefly discussed by the Commission and will generally be referred to staff and/or placed on a subsequent agenda. Under state law, other than for emergency items, no action can be taken at this meeting. I only have one speaker card for item number 3. Would anybody like to speak during this time? Nope, nobody's coming up. Okay, then we're going to move on to our consent items, and I am going to make a motion that we pull the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting February 3rd and to allow for a couple of corrections to be made and then review them at the March 16th Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, I will second the motion.
Okay? Bert?
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Lajowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Nolan,
Yes.
Chair Zabilla.
Yes. Okay, now we're going to move on to disclosure of site visits and ex parte contacts, please. Commissioner Foster?
Yes, I have visited the site that's on tonight's agenda, the public hearing portion, and have no ex parte contacts.
Okay. I too have visited the sites and have had no ex parte contacts.
I also have visited the sites and have had no ex parte contacts.
I have not visited the site for Mountain Vista Manor. I have visited cottages among the flowers before, but I've had no ex parte contact with either applicant.
Okay, so we are going to move on to our public hearing items. The first item is a revision to conditions of approval for conditional use permit, CUP 14-03, design review permit, DRP 14-07, and variance VAR 1601 for a new separate two-story building at the rear of Mountain Vista Manor, an existing board and care facility for the elderly located at 602 East Oak Street. I'd like to hear from staff, please.
Thank you. Good evening. So let's first start by saying that this project was previously heard by the Planning Commission in November of 2014. And that time, the Planning Commission granted a CUP 14-03 and design review permit 14-07 to allow for an additional 4,261 square feet of building footprint and a 7,526 square foot two-story residential building for expanded residential care on the property. The aforementioned approvals contain a condition of approval requiring the minimum width of the access drive to be 25 feet. It should be noted that that condition of approval came from the fire department, Ventura County Fire. The city's minimum standard is 20 feet for projects of this nature, and the applicant is proposing to meet or exceed this 20-foot minimum driveway width for the entire 280 feet driveway except for a 20-foot section towards the rear of the property. So what's occurred here is, and I just want to briefly kind of explain this, that the applicant was able to negotiate this width down, this condition to be modified by the county fire department to go from 25 feet down and allow this pinch point based on that they're actually increasing the fire suppression in the building that's to the rear, which would be the garage structure. So they've agreed to sprinkle that. That's the offset. So based on that, the applicant came to us and asked for a modification of that particular condition. Although then, once reducing that from 25 feet down to 1810, they were then ran afoul of our minimum requirement, which is 20 feet. And as such, we instructed the applicant to apply for a variance because we felt that he met the findings for a variance. So our code provides that we can allow for a minor variance to the width of parking driveways as such, 10%, so it'd be 2 feet. So at this time, what we're asking for is, the staff report indicates, is a 20-foot driveway to be reduced down to 18 feet at this pinch point, which is approximately a 20-foot length. So the findings for such a minor variance can be made because of the properties is encumbered by a flood channel easement and corresponding flood channel, flood control channel. So I think that you can see that in the overall picture, or possibly maybe even a little bit more specifically in some of the attachments that have been included in your package, such as A1-1A, which it shows not only the Barinka, but the actual pinch point that kind of occurs in the property line. Even the two side property lines are not parallel to one another. So with that, we're just asking, so we've gone through all the regular review that we would normally do in any project, making sure that this particular modifications condition doesn't disrupt the project's general plan compatibility or consistency, the zoning consistency, or the environmental review that was originally done. So with that, we're just asking that you review, I hope that we've reviewed the findings that are in the resolution for approval and the additional conditions, and I guess I should walk you through a little bit of that. So in the resolution, there are the findings in there on page 3.7 and 3.8, typically the same findings that I normally would put in the staff report for your consideration. They are in the resolution. They're the standard variance findings, and I can read those if you'd like into the record. They're fairly straightforward based on just the site plan and me walking you through why there's this pinch point. And again, variances are for property that has land limitations on it specific to the property. And this, you can see, very easily meets that. So, and with that, I just move on to page 3.9 in your resolution, which talks about the project-specific conditions. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The way our resolution has been crafted tonight is that all other conditions previously placed on this project remain in force, except for these 6 that have been modified. And we do want to say that one of the things that we've indicated is the prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall submit a survey or other legal instrument that demonstrates a parcel is a legal separate lot. That's one of the requirements that we need to do. With that, I think that, the other thing I wanted to make note of is the other condition is the applicant shall comply with section 4-16.206, which is the municipal code section referencing public artwork. We're trying to add those on as conditions of approval, even though that requirement's really triggered at building permit stage, but to let people know ahead of time, as I'm sure you all know that that's something we've been trying to do. So this was approved before we had started that practice, and now it's in the conditions of approval, but the applicant is well aware of it at this point in time because he was made aware during the building permit process. And with that, we just recommend that you open and conduct a public hearing and adopt PC Resolution Attachment A, making the necessary findings, improving revisions to conditions of approval to use permit CUP 14-03, and revisions to conditions of approval to design review permit DRP 14-07 and a minor variance V 16-01, and approving a categoric exemption under the California Environmental Quality Act for the project. And I'm open to any questions you might have. I will just that staff got inquiries from the public regarding this project's compliance with the new tribal policy, tribal notification, and the PAW process. And this project was approved prior to, had a grading permit issued, and the original approvals were prior to any policies being implemented. The tribal notification was approved in July of 2015, and the PAW was in December of 2015. It had a grading permit issued, I think, in October or November, I forget the specific, but it was in the fall. And this is not subject to either, this particular modifications to conditions isn't subject to either one of those as is worded currently, because it doesn't actually have ground disturbing activities. This project before you tonight really is just modifying a condition of approval to make it consistent with the way the project was designed. It was always designed with this pinch point in it. And so in and of itself, what we're doing tonight is more an administrative act modifying conditions. Those conditions don't create ground disturbing activities. All the ground disturbing activities were already previously approved in 2014. We'll note that when they come in for a building permit to actually build the structure, that will have ground disturbing activity associated with it, and then we'll notify the tribe of that, and they'll go through the PAW process with the building permit. So they've had one building permit issued, that was for a demo and grading, and a grading permit. So then the subsequent one that comes in will be subject to it.
I'm going to open the public hearing, and I'd like to hear from the applicant, please.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Ben Turner. Not much to add, to be honest with you, except that we're actually asking, we've listed 18-foot 10 on the plan. We're asking for the variance to be adopted to the 10% reduction allowed under code, which will be to 18 feet 0, to give us, to be in layman's terms, just a little wiggle room. We're going to have to get a surveyor out. We're going to have to work on a tight pinch point here, and we just don't want to have to come back again if they're 2 inches out. So that really actually is all I've probably got to add. Thank you.
Staff will just add that we met with the applicant on Friday, and we discussed this point with him because we were really concerned about whether that 1810 was, the site hasn't been surveyed, whether that 1810 was to the barrinca, the pavement, or the fence that's out there. And as we said, we're allowed to do up to 2 feet, and we just want to make sure that we're not creating a hardship when they get into construction and having the applicant having to come back again.
Just to add to that, to go back to the text, on page 3.8, finding number O, which is one of the minor variance findings, notes this point, the proposed minor variance down to 18 feet. And that's captured as well on page 3.9, condition number 4, which requires a 25-foot access road except where approved, were depicted on the exhibits and dropped down to the minor variance of 18 feet. So that point is captured.
I was going to add that we had some other adjustments that were driven by ADA requirements that have been cladded on the plan, where we've switched the not the orientation, but the placement of the ADA loading zone for the van space, and the addition of a ramp that were all just requirements by code that are shown on the plan currently. So no building changes, nothing there, just forced by the building code.
So Ben, is it the same number of spaces? You just relocated them?
We had to line up the loading bay with the door so that the path of travel didn't walk behind any cars.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
That's what the clouded area is on your
Yes.
site plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions for the applicant? No?
No.
Okay, well, I have a speaker card, Mr. Ron Yost.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Ron Yost. I live outside the city of Ojai at 1599 Orchard Drive, right back of Wendy's, where Verizon plans to put a 60-foot high cell tower. During our reviews of county ordinance and related to conditional use permits. we
Mr. Yost,
found-
are you speaking on this item that we're currently talking about, or did you want this to be during public communications earlier?
Public communication.
Okay, Mr. Summers, can we come back to public communications later, after this item is complete?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Okay, so it has number 3 on your card, but we'll just come back to you, Mr. Yost. Okay, so anybody else, any other members of the public wishing to speak on this item?
Hi, good evening. Dawn Teeting, North Signal Street. I appreciate staff's comment on the cultural resources review for this project, and I understand where we are right now. So just a little bit more information. So like Kathleen stated, on July 28th, actually, the policy went in effect for tribal notification for earth disturbing activities. And after that, my understanding is in the fall, 2 permits were issued, and there was no tribal notification for those permits. So at this point, I would like to request, just as with them adding, conditions being added for the public art consideration, I would request that 2 conditions be added to this project. One for accidental discovery of archaeological resources, and one also for accidental discovery of human remains. We just don't know what's there right now, and would appreciate those conditions being added to the project at this point. I understand additional review may occur with the next permit being issued, but right now no notice was issued to the tribe for the permits that were issued.
So I just want to clarify that Don and I are both part of the same ad hoc group, that the building permit will be ministerial at this point, and the point the process is at right at this moment in time, we can't condition the ministerial permits. So it probably would be proactive of the Planning Commission to put those those conditions that she's speaking of are just really the bare bones conditions. They're just really reflective and really more along the lines of educating the applicant, because it would be required at any point in time. I think the ones you're talking about, correct?
The human remains
The
would
human
be
remains.
required under state law, but we are asking for a condition be added for accidental discovery of archaeological resources.
Right. So I just want to, even though if they were to come in soon, before the council took action on whether or not to make. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, all right. Okay, so at this point in time, they will get notification of the building permit coming in because it has ground disturbance. But that, because it's a ministerial activity, that we would look for it to be compliant with these conditions. It would be unlikely at this point in time that they would have those placed on them. So if you choose, I think it's wise to put those basic ones on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Not that my place is anything to do with the mechanism, but the client and we have no objections to those conditions.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on this item? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing then, and we are going to discuss.
It's pretty straightforward to me. They're asking for something that's within our purview to approve. It's 10%, the 2 feet. It's very straightforward. The public art thing, I think, is something that I want to make sure that the clients understand that, or your applicants do. Okay. Other than that, going with the added 2 conditions, I think it's pretty straightforward.
I'm going to agree. When I first looked at it, my first thought was, oh, do they have access for, the fire department, of course, and emergency vehicles, and obviously the fire department approved it. That would have been my, first question. But, and it's obvious that there's an issue with the property line, and therefore the variance makes sense. So I'm in agreement.
What exactly are the 2 conditions? I'm kind of unclear, because it seems to me that any time that any human remains are found, it's just a standard mandatory notification. I thought that was in every
I think it's
condition.
the finding of an archaeological finding as well, separate from human remains. So I think it's the one's triggered automatically by state law, and the other one is something we would put on now. Okay, can you?
Yeah, certainly. The Ms. Teeting, representing the tribe, has requested the two conditions be added. The first condition regarding discovery of human remains is built into state law already. Anytime you're digging anywhere and you find human remains, you must first call the coroner, who determines if they're recent or not. If they're recent, it's investigated as a homicide. If they're not recent, then the coroner contacts the Native American Heritage Commission, who works to find the most likely descendant, who goes through a state process. That's all mandated by state law anyway. The proposal is data condition, just confirming that and making it very clear to the applicant that you must do this. The second condition is above and beyond what state law requires as a minimum, and that applies a similar rule to discovery of any archaeological resources, where you must stop work, call the local tribe, and consult with the tribe about what to do, whether it's have the tribe. There's a couple of options to be done with resources that are found. As I understand it, the preference is to allow them to remain in sight and put them somewhere on the site that won't be disturbed. But depending on what's being done, it may make sense to have the tribe take them to a museum. So the idea is to add that, and that is above and beyond state law.
Thanks. I don't see any real need to double inform somebody of an existing state law, but since the applicants have no problem with it, I don't myself have a problem with it, so.
I will say that I think the entire community is still looking for an opportunity to have public input on the cultural resources policy. I don't think that an hour at 11 o'clock at night on December 8th was really represented an adequate opportunity for the public to weigh in on this policy. And I've certainly heard from a lot of people that they're really anxious for that opportunity to do so. And I really hope we can do that, just so that, for the benefit of both the people who haven't been heard and for the cause of cultural resources as well. And with that, I also see this as pretty straightforward, so I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt PC resolution, attachment A, making the necessary findings and approving revisions to conditions of approval to use permit CUP 14-03, and revisions to conditions of approval to design review permit DRP 14-07, and a minor variance V 16-01, and approving a categorical exemption under the California Environmental Quality Act for this project, and in addition, adding the two cultural resource conditions as stated.
I'm trying to find some language we can give. Don, do you mind opening the hearing back up and asking Ms. Teeting to come back up and so we can get specific language?
I'm going to open the public hearing, and Dawn or Mr. Tuma might come up, please.
So, Don, do you want just standard language about, from the Native American Heritage Commission site, about finding of remains, just that typical language we had in the draft mitigations? Is that what you're asking for?
Correct. That'd be related to the human remains, and then the standard language that we had discussed. And I think a copy went on another project with Greg Grant.
Oh, okay.
The standard language we had, it would be fine, that we had discussed back in August or September for archaeological remains. And it could be something as simple as notifying the community development director at this point.
Okay.
To then contact an archaeologist.
Okay, then the one thing that we've been trying to do is also to require an educational meeting before and I know that you're not asking for that, but that usually helps for us too, because if we just have a meeting before they start construction, and we can explain the whole process to them, so that the people that are on site are really understanding these conditions rather than just arbitrarily putting them on the project. So we would ask a third one be added on, which is that they, actually, I think the appropriate thing for me to do is ask for like a 5-minute recess and just walk down to my office, and I'm going to get them.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess. Okay, we're back. Mr. Summers, do you want to explain the changes?
Would be glad to. And this is available to the public as well on the public counter table over there, if anyone is interested. So the first condition you have is pre-construction meeting, and the changes are to replace the references to Public Works with Community Development Department. And the second condition is human remains. That is as stated here. And the third condition is archaeological and Native American sites or artifacts. And on that one, there's a couple of changes. The first sentence, delete the reference to Public Resources Code, Section 5097, which is applicable to state land. These were drawn from another project, and that one had state land. And on the fourth line down, the second sentence, delete or, so it's archaeologist and Native American, local Native American tribal representative. And then for the final sentence, add at the end, in consultation with an archaeologist and local Native American tribal representative, so that the Community Development Department would be making these decisions in consultation with those two individuals, which is always assumed to be the case, but it's best to write it down. So with those changes, that is the proposal, which I understand the applicant has agreed to, although you might confirm that on the record.
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
You might confirm the applicant's agreement to these written conditions
right.
on the record.
We've read the conditions and we agree to them.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have a full motion. We have a nice, tidy motion. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Amber?
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Lajowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Nolan?
Yes.
Chair Zabilla?
Yep.
Just want to say to the applicants, we're really looking forward to your project. I think that this is a type of project the community can really benefit from, and thank you for that, bringing it forward to us. Okay.
Congratulations. We are going to backtrack to one of the individuals in the audience missed their turn at public communications, so we're going to go back to public communications and ask Mr. Yost to come back and finish his comments, please.
You might provide Mr. Yost the full 3 minutes as a courtesy.
Oh, sure, for sure.
Good evening. My name is Ron Yost. I live outside the city of Ojai at 1599 Orchard Drive. In the back behind Wendy's, where Verizon plans to put a 60-foot cell phone tower. During our reviews of county ordinance and related to conditional use permits, we found the county has adopted standards for approving use permits, and we want to call this to the city's attention in case any or all of the 6 standards might be of some help related to the proposed oil drilling project. Also, we think it might be helpful for the city and the county to agree and review proposed projects after county planning staff has completed their draft written report concerning a project's compliance with standards. In summary, as projects become more complex, both the city and Ojai Valley MAC should be reviewing them in the beginning to identify potential impacts and just before approval to see if known impacts are really being mitigated. I would like to pass along these letters out to the Planning Commission and staff. Also, envelope with letters, and by the way, the letters are addressed to Mr. Foster. That was the one that's on the website. Thank you.
Just to let you know, Mr. Yost, we do send a liaison from this commission to the MAC meetings, so we do try to stay abreast of what's happening, and happy to have your input. These items are certainly up on our radar immediately as well. Thank you so much. Okay, do I need to close public communications? I don't need to close that, do I? Okay. Okay, let's see, where are we? Okay, now we're at item number 4, a time extension for Cottages Among the Flowers, design review permit, DRP 5-01, -312A through F and 314B, West Aliso Street, Ojai, California, APN 020-0201-210. Like to hear from staff.
So before you tonight is a continuation request for Cottages Among the Flowers. We'd like to just bring you an update on this, that the applicant, the city, and the tribe met with we all met together, and the applicant is, as we, I think today in particular, they met with the tribe on site, and they're doing a preliminary walkthrough through the site. And I believe they're going to be doing some shovel test pits, et cetera, for the preliminary investigation of that site. So with that said, I guess I would ask that maybe I talked to the applicant today, and I don't think we're going to be able to make this March 16th. Once they do their exploration on site, then the report has to be developed, sent into the city, routed to the tribe. Then we need to have another consultation. I don't see that all happening in 2 weeks. And he concurred. So I really think we probably need to continue this to the first meeting in April. Or we could leave it as it is and then continue at the next meeting if it doesn't happen. It's either really at your discretion. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what's going on. And it's really out of staff's hands at this point. We're waiting for the applicant to bring us back the information we need to go forward.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff? Anybody, this public hearing, anybody like to speak on this item? Nope, okay. I'm going to close the public hearing. Mr. Summers, you look like you want to say something. Amber, can you make that thing stop?
I do. The recommendation would be to continue it to a date certain, April 6th, which avoids the need to renotice it.
Okay. Any discussion? Anybody want to make a motion?
I will. I'll make a motion that we continue this item, which would be a time extension for Cottages Among the Flowers, design review permit DRP 05-01-312A-F and 314B West Aliso Street, Ojai, California, APN 020-0-201-210, to April 6th, 2016 Planning Commission meeting.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Amber?
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Lajowski?
Yep.
Commissioner Nolan?
Yes.
Chair Zabilla?
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to our discussion items, trash and recycle cans, picnic tables, and benches project. And we are going to hear from Mr. Grant. We have our visual aids. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Yes. Hopefully a little lighter topic for you guys. I know you're always taking on the tough ones here, so I'm always happy to give some easy ones for you. And this is not really a formal, there's no need for a formal approval or so on, but I would appreciate your input. So when I go to the council, there's some understanding that there's been some review done by other commissions. The Parks and Rec Commission was very interested. They probably have the highest concentration of trash cans and recycle cans in their facilities at Libby Park and at the Sarzati and at the skate park and so on, and at Club Vista. But we also have some in the back in the plaza, and we have the ones out in front of the arcade, which is the HPC, the Historic Preservation Commission. We're trying to review it with them, but unfortunately there's no quorum right now. So we might take it. We're going to try to go back to them before we purchase those for that historic area. But we have been trying to get to this project for a while. So we've put out an RFP, a request for proposals, back in December, and it requested 85 pairs of trash and recycle cans, as well as 10 picnic tables and 10 benches. So we've got a nice standard to go start using in the city. And we received back, and there's a little more detail inside the administrative report, just the kind of things we're looking for in a trash can. You probably don't think about cans as much as we do, but there's concerns we have about durability, the ease that we can remove graffiti from it, and we have a lot of problems with the lids get knocked off. People go up and rummage through them to get out recyclables and things like that. So we are requesting some tamper-proof features on it, and a rain bonnet helps. Otherwise, you can imagine when it rains, and it does occasionally, I guess, it fills up the can, and it's kind of difficult to get them out of there and so on. It sometimes spills, makes a mess as you drag them and so on to the pickup area. So we had all that kind of thing in a RFP, and it was pretty extensive. And we had approximately 8 respondents came back to us. And that's what I kind of gave you a sample of there, is all of the different respondents we had. And I think the one on the front of the page is kind of a nicer looking can that you'll see around. In fact, we have some out at the Y bus shelter that we bought when we remodeled those bus shelters out there. And the problem is that Wausau is a really great company, but they didn't have a rain bonnet included with it, and it had some other, it's got that top easy in option. These are really nice, and I think they're really the major contender we have, is this kind of can for a, they were a top contender anyways, we thought about it. So if you flip through briefly, you'll see some options for benches and picnic tables and so on that we went through. The second page has a nice sturdy picnic table. We bought some out there at Sarzati, and they were kind of lightweight, and they warped in the sun, and they kind of lighter weight plastic that was burned when some people are out there with hot cooked items and so on like that laying on the tables. It melted the plastic. So some of these benches are pretty decent. And then, and I guess you go back and you see a little bit further back. I'm on this page now. We're from Kettle Creek. And Kettle Creek makes all kinds of neat products, and they were a great company, and they said they could do all kinds of custom stuff. And they provided all these different options that you see in here. It's all Kettle Creek header. All pretty nice stuff. A lot of options. There's a whole lot of options. You wouldn't believe all the catalogs out there for this kind of thing. And there's a pretty nice bench also, this Hampton bench. It says $848 on it. So these are just all the different options we had. Like this company that said Hampton bench, they had these cans, and they didn't custom engrave things, but they'll provide a sign off to the side and all that. But the one company that really stood out as very unique was this Outdoor Design Studio company. And you'll see their proposal is the one that says it up on top, Outdoor Design Studio. And they really, in detail, went through a numbered response to every single one of the RFP questions. They came up and visited the site and looked where we were going to put the cans to see what they could make work the best. And so really outstanding company. And they provide these cans directly from the manufacturer, whereas everybody else was an intermediary in general, so they have quite a markup on them. So these guys, their price was the same or better than other prices, and they had a really beautiful product that they would make. In fact, this can is kind of a modification for other cans that they have. So the trash can on the right, they actually went to the point where they manufactured one for us, put the city's engraving on it, the city of Ojai on it, and gave it to us as a demonstration as part of their proposal. So they kind of went above and beyond a little bit. It was pretty nice. I think Kathleen wanted this in her office, and we're trying to say, no, we're taking it back, right? So they really went above and beyond, and you'll see their picture there. They show it with a picture of it. They put it out at the fountain and took a picture and wanted to show how well they thought it matched out there. And they've got, really this one is the trash can. The recycle can will have plates across each side, the same plates on the inside there that'll kind of restrict it. We get a big mix with all the recycle cans. We get a lot of garbage, and it's hard to put them and separate them to recycling. So this will allow us to kind of promote the recycling effort so much, which is a major point of this project, because we're accessing an AB 939 fund, which the intention is to promote recycling. It's set aside money as part of our solid waste franchise agreement. So they'll provide it. You can see in that picture there's a coupler that will lock together the recycling and trash cans. And we are trying to be a little progressive and call one trash, or I'm sorry, not trash, but landfill is what we're going to put for a word on there to be a little extra hip. That's really where it's going. I think that maybe sinks in with some people. It's going to landfill. are recycled. So I think it's really a great trash can. It meets all of the requirements we were looking for, and it's super durable. I think it's aesthetically a really nice trash can, recycled can, and that's where the majority of the money's going for this project. And it's made out of recycled products, which was the point of this as well. And these products are great because you can hit them really hard with a pressure washer. So if there's graffiti or anything on it, it doesn't damage like it would even those metal staved ones that they can get a little rust or the paint gets weak or you hit it too hard and it'll remove the paint. So this stuff you don't have to worry about. You can hit it pretty hard. It's got that nice curved surface up top, so we're not really promoting people putting a lot of junk on it. Sometimes flat top cans land up a lot of sodas and things laying on them and spilled all over it. So this won't promote that, and it'll be easy to clean off if it does happen. So the next page had the benches, and they didn't provide a demo on the bench, but they really have a great looking few benches there that they make, and they provide all of these products really to all kinds of high-end resorts. So I'm kind of surprised they promoted this project, but it turns out they really love Ojai, and they think this stuff would be great up here as kind of a resort type town, I should say. So their proposal was the middle one on the benches there. They call it, I guess we didn't label it here, but they call it the Newport, the one in the center. So the center one that's got kind of a little thicker back to it and so on. Instead of the ones that got the vertical staves that we're a little worried about, those thinner staves and all that could be damaged or require repair more often than the thicker. So really the nicest looking kind of craftsman style, interesting looking bench was promoted by them as well. And then they have a nice looking picnic table, not quite as fancy as their other things, but it's a real durable table that's reinforced. It avoids the warping, but it's still made out of the recycled products that we have to do. So intention was kind of run through and show the process we went through and the proposals we reviewed. The Parks and Recs Commission has reviewed, and they were recommending this outdoor design studio, which their whole package, the trash recycle cans, as well as the benches and the tables, which, like I say, that's only 10 of each of those, whereas there's about 85 sets of these that would be part of the project. So we're appreciating any input you have.
How do you get in there?
And there is a key on this side. The whole door swings open. So it swings open, you pull it out to the side.
Okay.
And it's part of a particular spec we have is not to have a tumbler type key. There's a kind of a large cylinder, not like a Coke cylinder key, but anyways, it's a very tough, basic kind of T key that goes in. So it keeps riffraff out, but it makes it easy for the people who need the key to get in there. But it doesn't get gummed up or whatever the case could be.
Do the benches get lashed down somehow?
Everything will get bolted down to make sure it doesn't disappear anywhere, get damaged.
Yes.
Greg, thanks for coming. I know you got a lot on your plate, so thanks for joining us this evening. I think these look great. I like the fact that it's made in Wisconsin and manufactured in California, so that's a plus for sure.
Yeah, the plastic made in Wisconsin. That seems where all the recycling plants make plastic lumber. Yeah, and then it's manufactured down in Southern California.
So I think it's all, and all recycled plastic. I think it looks great. I think it. That looks good. Good job.
I thought the one contender, that front page was always kind of hanging in my mind. Those are pretty nice, but they don't promote, they're not made of recycled products, which is one negative. They're not as easy to remove graffiti and all that, and the paint does eventually get damaged as you pressure wash it and things. So those are nice looking too. I've seen those in a lot of pretty towns that have nice trash cans that I noticed, So that's my issue.
Okay. Yeah, did you say you have some of these already in the city?
Out at the Y, when we did those 2 new bus shelters, we
that's
used
right.
double. They're double wide, they've got trash recycling combined,
Yeah.
and it's got one big, large lid on it, and it
Okay.
always gets pulled off when people rummage through it, and we're always having to reset
Well,
it.
I was going to say, I could almost see these being in the arcade. First of all, it's covered and you wouldn't have the water issue getting in, right? Because you've got the arcade covering. And they're a little more upscale. if you needed to move them. But I think what you've selected here is really nice, and I agree. I'm glad that it's California-made, it's the recycled material, and it looks really nice.
I should
So-
as you mentioned the arcade, we're replacing a lot of around the perimeter of the arcade. The core of the arcade still has the ones from the remodel in 2000.
Oh, that's right.
So those are concrete with this custom tile on
Mhm.
it. So those we're cleaning up and it's the lids on those that always get pulled off and laid to the side. So we're trying to modify that so they don't get kicked off as much.
So Greg, I want to get this straight. You're referring to it as a landfill container now? Is that what you said?
You know, just to make it clear which one is trash, does that make it clear or confusing? We're going to have one that says landfill and one that says
Okay.
recycle.
All
The
right.
recycle will have that restricted plate on it.
Get
so
that
it
clear.
kinda
I
makes
just
the
wanted,
point.
yeah.
Right, so,
It functions pretty much the same way, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, what I like about it is, I mean, aesthetically, they're clean looking, and there's a consistency from the trash to the bench to the picnic table, so that's kind of nice, too, so. And if, so for me, at that point, it becomes about price point. And if it's competitive, you know, I think you got a good product here.
yeah, they were very competitive, yeah. They worked out great. Cutting out 30%, I think. They say when they sell it through catalogs, they mark it up 35%.
Mhm.
And it seemed to be what happened. You see a lot of these other cans 30% more expensive than theirs.
Right?
Yeah.
Is this something you guys are ready to, would like to?
It's
Jump
on
on
the
there.
agenda for the council, upcoming meeting.
Mhm.
So assuming or hoping that they approve it, we'll get the order going, and it'll take a few months to have these built. And
Mhm.
there's quite a few of the, in the parks especially, a lot of those old cans have been abused. They need to be replaced. So it'll be a nice upgrade,
Sure.
especially around the new playground and all that, so.
Good deal. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
So I think in general, it sounds like pretty supportive of the.
Thumbs up, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thanks for your help.
Thanks, Mr. Grant. Okay, we are now going to move on to our director report and director actions.
And so it actually says I'm going to give a verbal report, but I'm sorry, we're shy of Sherry right now in the office, and I'm just not up on exactly what's been approved and what hasn't been approved. Sort of swamped right at the so my apologies. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any questions about any projects we're processing. Okay.
No, we
And
get
then
it.
I would just ask that you move on to the code enforcement log. So, again, where, you know, the code, it's kind of the same thing every meeting. We're working on this list. We're working with the city attorney to move some of the items that have been on for a long period of time. We also are getting ready to move ahead and have the code compliance officer work on transient rental issues. Huh? Yeah, Mr. Summers would like to speak on that.
And in case anyone freaks out, as you'll recall from the council's this meeting on January 26th, they adopted a resolution confirming the existing law that banned transient rentals of less than 30 days unless you're in a permitted hotel, motel, or bed and breakfast. So we're moving forward on starting that enforcement process. You'll also recall that the council's action provided that there would be 4 months of warning letters followed by fines beginning after the 4 months expired. So we're working on getting those warning letters out, based in part on neighbor complaints. So if you have one nearby, submit your complaints to the code enforcement process through the website, and also on the publicly available information regarding reviews of existing sites.
I just want to elaborate on that a little bit. You know, we do have quite a number of fillable forms on the website, and one of them is the code complaint form. So you can fill it out totally on the website and then send it in, and it gets emailed to myself and other staff members. So it's pretty convenient.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on code enforcement? Anybody have any comments? I'm just, have these vacant buildings always been here? This whole list of vacant buildings? The back?
Starting in December.
Yeah, but I don't remember them being in this report.
That is, I believe, a second new enforcement push, is to enforce the vacant building ordinance, which you'll recall the council rewrote together with the BAB recommending council approving last July and August.
Okay, thank you. Okay, future agenda items.
So we need to all be reminded that next Wednesday we'll be here again for the Topa Topa Winery modification. And then the next meeting on March 16th will be the second unit discussion. We're moving Cottages Among the Flowers off onto April 6th. So we don't have any public hearings, those are just discussion items, and you will have the tiny homes presentation. Might I ask if there's any preference on what I need to provide for you for the second unit discussion, or should I have it, has everyone kept their previous meetings information, or do we need to make copies of that and provide? It's been a while, so just want to make sure everybody's.
Yeah, I recall saving mine, but if I can't find it, I'll give you a holler.
Okay.
Why don't we just assume that we need to,
Just update everything? Okay.
I mean, just in terms of the materials?
Yeah, I
I
don't, so I'll try to give the minutes, et cetera, and just put everything in there. Would it help if we just kind of made a separate binder for a second unit discussion, so you just could keep
Yes,
that with you?
that'd be awesome.
Okay, well, let's do that.
We're not going to keep reprinting.
Well, I just think it's easier for you just to you could have a planning commission binder, and you could have that, and then that way, okay, sounds good.
I'm going to be out of town for the March 16th meeting, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Just so.
Okay, thanks for letting us know. Okay, and Planning Commission Committee reports. Oh, do you want to, we're going to go through the rotation, is that what you're saying?
I'm also going to still be gone on March the 22nd. I'm visiting some family in Colorado, so.
Okay,
I
are you
don't
going
know
to
how
be here
that-
next week?
Yes.
Okay.
So should we just talk about it next week?
Assuming we can.
So what I'm saying is on the 22nd, I'm not going to be able to go to the city council meeting.
Right. So I think maybe you can ask if you can switch with Merck or something
Okay,
for 5?
I'll send him
Yeah,
an email.
and then we'll work it out we'll have it figured out. Okay. Okay, let's see, committee reports. Let's see, who was due? Let's see, who?
I have complete streets.
You have complete
I did
streets.
city council.
You did city council, okay. Commissioner Foster, would love to hear your thoughts.
Well, this was for the city council meeting held last Tuesday, I believe, February 23rd. And interesting meeting, they always are. It started out with some presentations. I think we had I know we had the Ojai Library annual report came forward. And I believe it's a new librarian director there named Ron Solorzano. And he talked about the efforts they're doing with children's services, some adult reading classes, things of that nature. What was pretty important, I thought was of note, was they had their 100-year, the system had their 100-year centennial celebration. And it turns out that Ojai Library was the first library to be part of that system 100 years ago. So, the little FYI, that's kind of interesting. He also thought was thankful and was grateful for the contribution of the Ojai Valley Library Friends and Foundation. They had the twice sold tales down there, which are up for some future renovation in the near future, actually. After that, Russ Baggerly got up and spoke on for the Ojai Basin Groundwater Management Agency. And evidently, they're in the process of putting together a groundwater sustainability plan. However, there's some holdup there because they're waiting on some sort of information from another agency. So until that happens, it's in the process. They talked about the Casitas water level being down low 40 percentile right now. So hopefully we'll get some rain this coming weekend. It might help. What else we have here? There was a few items on the consent calendar. The Topa Mountain Winery had a fee waiver for the current design review. That was discussed and approved by City Council. There was, let's see what else we had here. Wild Tennis Academy also was granted a fee waiver. In addition, there was a 2015 Lifetime Achievement Award in the arts awarded to Linda Taylor. And Linda's pretty much known as a civic activist and involved in a lot of things, education and obviously art, so she was honored. When it came to the time of the public hearing, we had the Libby Bowl use and events discussion, and evidently, probably Councilman Haney can fill us in a little more on that if he chooses, but there's an existing ad hoc committee out there dealing with contracts as to who to retain for event scheduling, this sort of thing. And there was a lot of public support to push this thing through and use this facility. There's certainly a passion out there that we got this beautiful facility that's underused and whatever it's going to take to get there. And they have been talking to one of the venue operators, I guess they're called Sterling Ventures, and they've interviewed a few, and they seem to like where they were coming from. So I'm sure there's more information if you choose to find out about that. It has generally the focus of the group is what's going on currently with the bowl and looking at its future, trying to identify issues, and all this sort of thing comes into play. Following that was this MRSA item, which stands for Medical Marijuana Regulation and Safety Act. I believe it was supposed to become effective March 1st, and there was a assembly bill passed, AB 21, I guess fairly recently, that effectively removed that deadline date to January 1st, 2018. So that, in effect, took away the urgency and the need to really dial in on an ordinance and a regulation at this time. And in fact, there were a lot of people that want to continue the discussion, the dialogue, and are volunteering to come forth. And City Council was very much amenable to that idea. They like that idea. So there'll be a task force about further discussion in that arena. So that's coming through. So this is, again, a process that's taken place. And that does it for me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Foster. Very thorough. Commissioner Nolan?
All right, reporting on the Complete Streets Subcommittee, we actually had our monthly meeting today. It's always filled with lots of good members of the public and lots of good information going around. But generally, I'm just going to look at my agenda because I barely had time to finish that meeting and I was here. So I want to announce that on March 20th, City Repair, which is a organization, they're going to be collaborating with some neighbors in Ojai. Actually, it's going to be on the corner of Matilaha and El Paseo, doing a city repair project. It's going to be from noon to 4. But the Public Works Department and Complete Streets has been working with them on that. And I had a question, Kathleen, do we know when our next neighborhood planning workshop is going to be?
No, probably. I met with them today.
Okay.
And I imagine that I don't know that we can make that weekend, probably sometime early in April.
Okay.
We're still sort of working on making sure that this next meeting really addresses fences, hedges, front yard setbacks. We went through a lot of that material today.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering, I know they had talked about the weekend of the 20th, but that's fine. We also discussed some goal setting for 2016. And one of the things that we, in addition to completing the master plan, so presently our draft bicycle and pedestrian master plan has gone back to the consultant, Nelson Nygaard, for further review and some minor modifications and editing. When that's released, it'll come back to Complete Streets. We're going to look at it, go through it again, and then I believe after that it'll be released to the public for review. And we're hoping by the end of this year at the latest. Sooner would be better. We could take it to City Council and get it approved. So that's one of our main goals. And then in addition, because presently the Public Works Department has been awarded quite a few grants, and we have, projects lined up with those grants, we've been working on prioritizing those projects. And what we're hoping to do in 2016 is also, grab my notes here. We wanted to act as kind of a support educational, our outreach group. So if we know a project's coming, and a lot of them happen to be big and maybe have major impacts, to be able to go out to the public and have maybe even on-site meetings so that we're there to help answer questions and what have you. We also looked at adding an additional meeting or extending our meeting time. In the past, we used to meet twice a month. We scaled it back probably about a year and a half ago to once a month, and we rarely get anything done. So, well, no, I shouldn't say that. We do get a lot done. We just always have a big agenda, and we can't get to the end of it. So what we discussed was possibly adding an evening meeting. Of course, I will discuss that with staff, and if that indeed can happen, and if so, when. But I'll contact you, and we can discuss what you think about that. Of course, Greg Grant was there. He's our staff liaison, and he is well aware of that. And let's see. We did also discuss our website, which we've been approved to add things on the city website under Complete Streets, but we haven't actually got everything together on that. So that's in process. The Safe Routes to School, we're going to be doing a report on the Safe Routes project that we did at the end of last year. We're just waiting to get some information back from the school district. And I think that was pretty much the bulk of it. Oh, one other thing that we did that was very fruitful, because we do have this lengthy list of projects that have been funded, we worked on really prioritizing what 3 projects could actually be implemented in the first quarter, which may bleed into the second quarter because we're almost at the end of the first quarter. But we felt like that was a really good step in the right direction. And I think that's pretty much the bulk of it.
Thank you, Commissioner Nolan. Okay. Now we'd like to hear from our City Council liaison, Councilmember Haney.
Good evening. Mr. Tulamat would like to know if, before the meeting's over, if you can make a public comment.
Okay.
Okay. I don't have anything to offer unless you guys want some clarity on anything.
I got a quick question. I know you can't executive session and whatnot, but I heard that Rob Clark's no longer with us.
Yeah, you resigned today.
Do you know, so who's the, I just heard
the
this.
acting city manager is Steve McClary.
Okay, so he's the acting, and then is that a position that that the council's gonna be looking to fill like immediately, or have you guys talked about that?
We're gonna be
yet?
in special session next week, and we'll discuss that.
Okay, yeah, I just heard that. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But, thanks.
Yeah, if you need any other information, you can contact Mr. McClary.
And just to clarify, as Councilmember Haney noted, the council meeting next week, the special council meeting at 6 p.m. will include a closed session that will be including consideration of appointing an interim city manager. First acting, then interim, and then the council will begin the process of searching for a permanent city manager. And that will take some time.
Any other questions for Councilmember Haney? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Do I need to officially open public communications again, or no? We can be relaxed.
Not a hearing. You can just take it as a further
Yeah.
public comment.
Okay, Mr. Tumai?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Isabella, and Commissioners. I would just, like to make a comment on what you may have mentioned about the 11 o'clock hour and trying to get answers at such a late period. I know exactly what you're talking about. We've been at this for 17 months trying to deal with the whole situation. And, I just want to encourage the general public, and people that living within the city of Ojai to come to the table. And if they have questions and they need answers, or, have any kind of dispute of any sort, or, they just want to join in, please do. I encourage it all. This is a community of people who love Ojai. And if we're going to live here, let's get it together. Let's get on the same page and participate with, what goes on within the city of all resources and, what happens here in the valley. I encourage everybody that's listening and watching to get involved. This is a community that's going to grow, and I want to see it grow in the best way possible. So I want to thank you as a commission, Kathleen's help, and Matt, and those who care about this valley. I want to thank them on behalf of my sister and myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Toomey. I will say that I know people have come when it's been on the agenda, but it's just been put on too late, and it doesn't get heard. So it would be great if we could have a community meeting, because, in the same way that we had it at Sarasota, I think, having just a big enough room to accommodate everybody, and just let's get it out there and get it heard. I think that's what I'm hearing from the public would be really, received well, and would be great for the cause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a better understanding of how things are being dealt with, and I think that would certainly, kind of clear the air. So, like I say, I welcome everybody.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Quillisi.
Thank you. Steve Quillisi, West Eucalyptus Street in the city. I'd like to take you back to your item 9, committee and commission reports, and the liaison meeting rotation list. I'm a member of the Building Appeals Board, and I have to confess right now, I'm a little bit confused about when our meetings are going to be. We got an email from the contract planner, Cheryl Davis, I think is the name, saying, this is a week or so ago, saying that the March 14th meeting was canceled. Later in the week, we got a notice that the March 14th meeting had been moved to April 23rd. Earlier this week, we got another notice saying that the March 14th meeting was back on, but that it is not to be handling the appeal by the bowling alley folks of a building official decision. Rather, it's going to be to handle the beginning of the updating of the building code. The point is, there will be a meeting on March 14th, so you may wish to assign someone to attend. And the April meeting, as far as we know right now, rather than pending, is April 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you. I know you have a lot to do based on my attendance at your last meeting, so it makes sense that you're going to try to keep them back to back like that. And of course, we recognize that there's a lot of things in flux right now at staff level, so we all have to be patient. Ms. Wold.
So I'm a little confused on this too, because I was instructed by the city manager before his departure that due to the lack of clerical staff in my department, that meeting was canceled. That would have to go out tomorrow or the next day, is my understanding, in order to have a meeting on next Thursday. I've not been made aware by anybody that there's a building appeals board. I was instructed by the city manager to cancel it.
This is the 14th.
Oh, that's right, a week from?
14th.
So, okay. But I have not been instructed by anybody to put that back on the calendar.
Okay. So, well, I think this is, we're all going to have to, roll with this and try to be patient, and at the same time try to get something done. So what do you guys recommend right now?
Well, it was, my staff is stretched to the max here, and the direction from, I'd have to talk with Steve McCleary, because no one has come to me. I've been there every day. I was instructed to cancel that meeting due to the lack of clerical support. As you know, we're not getting minutes done. We're really stretched thin here. So I don't know. I'll have to go back and discuss it with the acting city manager, because I know nothing about that being rescheduled.
Okay.
One point to note is that the Brown Act only requires 72 hours notice for a regular meeting, 24 hours notice for a special meeting. So the scheduling for the BABS meetings
We have
cannot
time.
be settled tonight.
Yeah.
There is time to figure out evidently there's some confusion. I'm hearing this now. It can be settled later.
I just would say, the first email that I received saying the 14th meeting had been canceled, the reason for the cancellation was stated as lack of clerical support to construct an agenda for the meeting. And I wrote back to Ms. Davis and volunteered to put together an agenda in Word format and ship it to the city, if that will help. I know that Steve Stewart is working on meeting minutes for the January 27th meeting, which was our last one. And my impression is he expects to have those ready for the 14th. And I would renew my offer to put together an agenda for the 14th if that would help city staff.
Thank you. Okay. And with that, anything else? Anybody else? Okay. Mr. Summers?
One thing, just want to introduce a colleague of mine who you may have noticed, the other lawyer in the suit. Stand up.
We were wondering.
Lynn is Lanian. I work with Matt at Colintuna, Highsmith, and Watley, and I actually recognize you all from watching some of the YouTube videos, so just wanted to put my face to my name. I work on some memos and things with Matt, but I'll be here from time to time when Matt can't be.
And speaking of which, looking ahead at the calendar, I won't be able to make the two meetings in May. One, I'm going to League of Cities Conference. The other, I'm going to a wedding, which is scheduled for a Wednesday. They have limited funds, but dear friends. And I also am not able to attend the meeting on March 16th. And I'm not sure, based on the agenda, whether or not attorney coverage is necessary. That decision is made by the mayor, the city manager, now acting city manager, and Kathy in consultation. So if they decide that coverage is required, Len will be your guy on the 16th, and then again, the two meetings in May.
Who's here next week?
Next week, I will be here on the 9th. Yes.
Okay. Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we're adjourned.